Multiway pots are complicated. I would not do that. More players, more ranges, less solved. I might do that if I'm bored. Wouldn't do that. I think I probably would have just folded as both of them and the hand would be over, and that's why I don't get invited to play here. I just reviewed a couple of hands that involve very different types of concepts and very different types of multi-way pots. I'd like to let you watch those back as I watch them for the first time and share my thoughts as they unfold. All right, so it's 1K, 1K, 2K ante. 2K big blind ante with a 2K straddle. So 1K, 1K, 2K with a 2K big blind ante. And I need to pause to see what's going on because everybody's in the pot. Okay, so there was a call. Looks like it started with Steve in the low jack with queen jack offsuit. I don't like that. I would raise or fold. Unless you're playing some structure that Jack, I would raise king 10 suited after the limp, but he limps. Pav now limps 6-5 offsuit. I would not do that. Peter calls 10-4 suited. I might do that if I'm bored. Eric completes in the small blind. I wouldn't do that. Texas Mike completes. Would not do that. Keating, the big blind, decides to check. And I can't remember the last time I saw a flop with this many people.
Anybody call you, Phil?
What's that?
Did anybody call?
A couple, I think.
We got trips and trips. Texas Mike in kind of rough shape, and Steve. And interestingly, Jack here with a really strong draw. We know that a queen would be a disaster for him.
Got shot straight flush draw. Steve has tripped Jack.
And let's see if I can figure out what's going on. Steve bets. Jack calls. Texas Mike calls. Okay. Not too crazy in terms of the flop action. Although just betting big on that flop with anything is a little odd. And not theoretically sound, I should say.
Pretty big favorite.
You generally want to use small bet sizes in large multi-way pots like that.
The Queen of Hearts would be...
Steve going to keep betting for value with the best hand.
Make a straight flush.
Jack with the call. I actually think this call is pretty questionable. He has a huge draw. He even has one out to the straight flush, which actually earlier when I said it would be disastrous if he turned a queen or hit a queen, unless it was the Queen of Hearts. But he has to worry about this guy betting into a million players who almost surely has trips or better at this point. And then Texas Mike behind him who called, who has to have trips or a draw. So I actually would fold king 10 suited here on the turn, as uncomfortable as that and unfun as that is. And as Texas Mike, I guess I call, but I'm pretty unhappy. I might fold. Like one of them has to have it.
Jack's going to make the call.
Queen.
And Mike
Oh, okay. Jack hadn't called yet. But yeah, I wouldn't have called it. Texas Mike calls quickly. I think I probably would have just folded as both of them and this hand would be over, and that's why I don't get invited to play here.
There's a queen.
Interesting. So, I mean...
Goes 320,000.
Steve bets big. Jack looks...
What a river card.
Disappointed. He's making it clear, which is, you don't want to do that with another player behind you. Let's hear what they're saying.
What a river card. Queen of Hearts would have given Jack the straight flush. Jack does make the straight though.
Oh, I don't mind hearing the answer. But if he'll speak freely, you always do.
If he folds out a turn, we can go in a lot of.
Forget I'm here for a minute.
But if you would just fold out a turn, and then I can talk to him.
Oh, interesting.
I'm right where I want him.
Interesting. So they're talking. Steve's saying he's not going to share. He's not going to talk because there's a third player in the hand. And then he goes on to say that, Mike, if you fold out a turn, then I'll talk to him, which could be taken in a couple of different ways, right? It could be, I mean, he's probably just not even thinking it through and having, not that I know anything about him, but it could just be fun table talk, which it probably is, but it's really strategically interesting because it makes it seem like he wants him to fold out a turn, but does he really? I guess it would make me think. I can see the cards. Kind of makes me feel like he is more likely to have it, but it's a sneaky thing to say. Interesting. So now he's saying he wasn't really sweating Mike that much. He's more sweating Jack, which actually the interesting thing is, I think people tend to be a little too honest. So that one actually would make me want to call more. His first one made me want to fold. And now I'd be right back to being confused. And I mean, like, Jack is acting like he definitely does not have a full house. So if he were to call, Texas Mike could be an interesting spot to bluff shove if he actually thinks Steve is bluffing. And to value shove if he has a full house.
Mike has not folded yet, but
I think you have to fold as Mike when that much money has gone in.
$20,000 call.
Because what could Jack have that you beat? Queen 10?
This pot, $887,000.
Maybe Jack 4 and then you chop? I mean, this is a wild hand for 1K, 1K, 2K, 2K. This is like the kind of hand that you see at 2-5.
Fucking highlight reel. Lead out and finish in third.
I hope so.
320.
Sorry, this is gonna take a minute.
320.
I actually would. So I mean, I'm making a lot of live tell reads, which is not my strength, but for Steve to still be talking, he's maybe trying to make something happen. And if he was bluffing and he's already been called, he has no incentive to try to make Texas Mike do anything. Now he might just have fun at that point because who cares? That makes it seem more like value.
I might have him beat.
What do you mean?
He means that 180 you have behind.
Like, maybe I could have bluffed you, but what can he call you with?
That's the
Is
question.
anybody allowed to answer these questions? Probably not, right?
Steve is very comfortable talking during a hand. I mean, we could see he has the nuts, basically, but I'm curious how he would be otherwise. I have a feeling he'd be comfortable talking anyway.
Got to be a little bit more careful. Absolute gin card. For
I think
Steve
Mike's going to come to the right conclusion and lay this down.
just so he can
Nobody
lose
looks
a
very
huge
happy.
pot.
I got that going for me. Look at these guys. This is depressing. It's like a funeral. Like, Ryan, seat open.
Which one?
I don't know.
3.
I like Mike.
So Steve doesn't think anybody has a jack. You don't believe Steve. Call.
There's a call. Look at this, max value, absolute max value. Jack said, Queen Jack. He nailed it, but he couldn't fold the straight. Mike overcalls.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to. It seems like maybe I missed some table talk
Into 240, overbets the pot on the river.
to make Mike call there. But I thought he would probably find the fold. He was right that they didn't look happy, but it's pretty tough to call.
It's like the biggest spot. Yeah, I miss it every single time.
That says a lot about you, though.
Yeah, I should be.
Nice time.
It's pretty tough to call. I think the important thing to remember is that 8 people saw the flop, and then a lot of money went on the flop 3 ways. So yeah, you got to be careful in those spots. That was a fun hand, And the good news is we have one more. Want to train with the same poker players who've earned millions both live and online? Learn from more than 180 elite pros, including top players like Dan Smith, Jeremy Osmus, Jason Kuhn, and me. You'll have exclusive access to structured mini courses, in-depth boot camps, and monthly Q&A sessions with elite coaches. Still not sure? Save 50% on your first month of Elite using code PHIL50 right now. Head over to runatonce.com to take advantage now. And here we go. Patrik Antonius in the hijack.
蓝色是你的幸运色吗？手链也是蓝色。对啊，是你的幸运。
Raises it up. King 5 suited from Seth Gottlieb calls.
But doesn't seem to be working. Well, throwing that on the turn.
Yeah, this time we'll
win.
much more reasonably
Oh, this could be a big pot.
go three-way, maybe.
If we play,
As Ferdinand Putra 3-bets big.
Ace
25K.
Queens, and they're playing 500K apiece.
They're deep.
Patrik just calls.
And call. Okay, Seth pretty loose on the second call there. And gets rewarded, maybe.
Patrik, 2 overs and a gut shot. Queens is the overpair and the best hand, and Seth has a diamond draw.
So everybody's got a little something. If you're Ferdinand, you don't love your hand here.
1,000.
You can lose to jacks, you can lose to tens, you can lose to jack 10 suited. Patrik facing a 50K bet.
Visions of a queen for Patrik.
I think unless you have a read on Ferdinand, you gotta lay this down. Yeah. Okay, good. Good fold from Patrik.
That's going nowhere.
Clear continue from Seth. He could maybe consider raising, but call's kind of the standard.
Seth won't mind.
Now, if you're Ferdinand, you might like your hand a little bit more because
With his flush draw.
Seth didn't raise on a very dynamic flop. They have a little under 2.5 times pot remaining. It's going to go
Putra sizing up.
60% pot.
Now.
Seth can't fold a pair and a flush draw. No too many outs against everything.
Seth looking to hit.
So he calls, doesn't go for the bluff raise, and
Here
ooh,
he does, making the
quite a
king-high
river.
flush, and Putra makes top set.
So here's an interesting
Fireworks.
way to consider this. So if you're Putra, a lot of people in this spot, they're like, okay, I have less than pot size bet left. I have top set. I'm a little uncomfortable. I don't like this river, but I have top set. And so I'm just going to jam because I have top set. I don't know what else to do. Everything else is uncomfortable. This is actually a great spot, especially if you're up against a good player, to check and call quite often. It's not necessarily that it's the best calling hand, but it's that you block so many of the hands that can call you. So it's really hard to value jam here and get called, because if you were up against a set or two pair, you at this point were pretty likely to have heard from them on the flop or the turn. And so what you're usually up against here, if it's not a draw, is a hand like Jack 9 of spades or 10 9 of spades. Perhaps a hand like Ace 10 if they're feeling frisky. And then of course, yeah, it could be 9-8. It could be diamond. It's not going to be dry king 9. It's not going to be dry ace king, because ace king would have done something different pre-flop. So if you lose, it's almost always to a flush. Sometimes it's to 9-8 suited. But if you check, a good player in this spot, if they have Jack 9 of spades, will say, well, everything got there. I can't be bluffing. So I need to bluff a hand like this, or it's going to work well if I bluff a hand like this. And you could think about this in one of two ways. One, exploitatively, you could be like, this looks like I'm never bluffing. It's a great bluff spot. But also theoretically, you need to bluff some hands. And because you don't have worse than a pair here ever, you don't have worse than a good pair, really. I mean, unless you made a super loose play with like ace deuce of spades at twice, which realistically doesn't happen in theory here. You need to bluff Jack X and 10X. And so both, it feels like an exploitative thing, but it is a thing theoretically. And it makes queen a really good checking hand here. Whereas, if you have 8-9, you jam not because you're getting so much more value, because actually there are not many hands in between queen and 8-9, right? Exactly 0. But with 8-9, you don't block any pairs. You could be up against queen jack, you could be up against queen 10, and it's just less likely that you run into a hand that bluffs. Also, you could be up against king queen, which would then not bluff when you check, but might call. So I like a check call here from Ferdinand. At the very least, a check to side and look to make a read. The river spots get weird when you... This is a common river spot in that you have a pretty good hand, but you're not thrilled, and it just doesn't feel great. Usually it doesn't feel great because it's tough to get called. He goes for the smallish bet. Not that small, but half pot. A little under. He gets jammed on, of course, by the second nuts. And now he's in a similar situation. He has better pot odds than if he checked. And I actually don't hate anything here. I don't hate calling, given what I've seen from Seth in the past.
Is there a chance he's up against a worse value hand, like a set?
No, I don't think he's up against worse for value. I think he just has to hope Seth has a hand like Ace of Diamonds 10, Ace of Diamonds Jack, King of Diamonds Jack, maybe a crazy King Jack of Spades, who knows.
Ace of Diamonds into a bluff.
But I think checking is going to work better here. Specifically because it's so hard to get called by a worse hand.
Right, please have to fold.
Indeed.
Want to call.
Feels like Putra knows he's beat. Trying to convince himself otherwise. Makes the call. And Seth,
yeah, I don't hate it.
wins $1
And
million
he gets the
pot.
bad news. $1 million pot goes to Seth Gottlieb. You know, his line, other than a little bit of loose pre-flop play, was pretty standard. All right, so we saw two very different types of multi-way pots. And if I were to think about the lessons to take away, in the first hand, it's when a lot of people see the flop and a lot of money goes in, you have to be really tight. You have to be really careful. In the second, it's really a good lesson in blockers. That specifically, the hand value, the like absolute hand strength of queen makes a fine river bet. But because specifically you block two of the queens, you're going to get folds when everything gets there from hands like ace jack and 10-9. Much better, I think, to check and induce a bluff. Either way, I would have gotten stacked too. But I think I could have made more from bluffs than he might have. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a thing or two. While these were more entertainment than education, I tried to sneak in little nuggets of wisdom here and there. If there's a hand you'd like me to take a look at, please let me know in the comments. And until next time, take care and good luck.